We have been covering a lot of map type COD history videos lately. We're just on a Call of Duty map kick, and we're going to do at least one more, and this one may be the best one. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. Today, we're going to do the top 20 best one-and-done maps in Call of Duty. That means these maps only appeared one time throughout the entire franchise, which is a long time, over 2 decades. And it makes you wonder, like, we've gotten remakes of maps nobody asked for. So are they that out of touch? And if they are, maybe we can help them out. Maybe the developers will see this video and see some of these one-and-done maps that we would really like to see happen. So, as always, drop a like goal. Since it's not AI Facecam Jimmy, let's go for 942. I still honestly can't believe there's people in the comments. They're probably trolling me, I get it, but really think that this is AI. Come on, seriously? I guess we'll just keep going with the meme or the joke. I don't know. Anyway, let's jump into it. Let's kick things off with Carrier and Black Ops 2. It was one of those love it or hate it kind of maps back in the Black Ops 2 days, because on one side, the snipers absolutely loved it, and the flankers had lots of fun here as well, but on the other hand, it was one of those maps you were pretty frequently going to get instantly killed from somebody you 100% did not see coming, and that could get frustrating. I mean, running around with a giant aircraft carrier and getting some cool sniper shots on top of one of the planes was a pretty good feeling, and it led to some of the most memorable clips of the Black Ops 2 era. I'm frankly surprised it never came back after this at all. I guess it was never one of those popular maps in the game, but it was definitely fun. And the community, they generally liked it. I think it's a good way to start today's list. And I also want to say, guys, I see all your topic suggestions. I just can't get to all of them. So some of you that say you're on day 60 and day 422, we're trying. We really are, but I do see you. At number 19, Grid and Black Ops. This is one of the several snowy maps in the original Black Ops, which I love, and it was usually overshadowed by Summit, which is kind of lame because I always thought Grid was pretty awesome in its own right. I've said this before, but when you look at Grid and compare it to Standoff from Black Ops 2, they're really similar, almost like Grid was a prototype of Standoff. There's 2 big buildings on the opposite sides of a street, and then the streets and alleyways can be used to flank the other teams and try to shake up the combat. Headquarters and Demolition, those were some of the best game modes here, at least in my opinion, and it had some great Black Ops 1 vibes to go along with it. At number 18, bring back Bakara. Bakara in Modern Warfare 3 2011. Now, a lot of the urban maps in the original Modern Warfare 3 trilogy blend together sometimes, and I really think that's why a lot of people forget about Bakara, despite it being a really fun 6v6 map, especially if you were a traditional sniper who liked holding down long sight lines with an MSR or L118A. Bakara had plenty of powerful second story windows to use to your advantage. Even had a down chopper with a working machine gun on one side of the map, which hardly anyone ever used, but it gave it personality. I can see why a lot of people forgot about it, because it was just one of the many urban maps from Modern Warfare 3's era. I liked it. And of course, it's Bakara Market, and of course, it's from the movie Black Hawk Down, which of course is based on the real-life situation that happened. At number 17, Crossfire, COD 4. It's interesting. It's one of the most recognizable maps from the original Modern Warfare, and yet it's never actually been remade outside of Modern Warfare Remastered, which obviously wouldn't count today. Sniping duels, pretty nuts here. Flanking along the outer buildings kind of gave it personality. You could camp the windows with a sniper rifle if you wanted, but that really wasn't the optimal way to play, because there was lots of ways to sneak around and punish your enemies for not paying attention. It was a fun map for modes like Domination and S&D, but never got it back. At number 16, Asylum in World at War. I think this is one of the most iconic maps in World at War because of how much it shared with the classic Zombies maps, but in terms of layout, it was really similar to Showdown from COD 4. Lots of long corridors that circled around an open courtyard where nobody dared step in, of course, but this meant the fight for control of the second story corridors got pretty nuts. And in case the gameplay looks familiar, Zombies players in the audience here. That's because Asylum from the World at War multiplayer and Varut from World at War Zombies share a ton of assets, including a massive part of that layout. So I guess you could say this map has been remade because it's part of the Blackout map, but in terms of 6v6 multiplayer, we've never seen it in any game except for World at War. At number 15, one of my favorites, Radiation, Black Ops. It's one of the first maps in COD history to have an interactive element, namely the giant blast doors in the middle of the map that could be opened and closed. In fact, the B flag in Domination was located under the blast doors. Made it super interesting to play here, because if one team could lock down the controls to the blast door, they could basically secure the victory right out of the gate, because the other team literally couldn't capture the B flag. But that being said, if you managed to steal control of the blast door, you could surprise the other team. This was one of the bigger maps in the original Black Ops. Domination matches were so much fun. And number 14, Underground in Modern Warfare 3 2011. Who remembers a subway map in Modern Warfare 3? Yeah, that was Underground. It's funny because most people remember that this map exists, but for some reason, we forget what it was called. Well, again, Underground. And it should come back in Modern Warfare 4. Yeah, we're getting to Modern Warfare 4. Set in London, super dynamic because of how many different areas there were and how differently they played compared to one another. And generally speaking, most people stuck to the main station in the lower tunnel. But every once in a while, you get some crazy fights on the outskirts or in the parking lot. Lots of personality here, much like Bakara. Sometimes gets forgotten due to the fact that it's yet another urban map from the Modern Warfare 3 era. They loved their urban maps. At number 13, Wetwork in COD 4. Everybody remembers how insane this map could get because of the powerful grenade spam we had. The map was set on a big cargo ship full of tall shipping containers that gave it an awesome look, but also unfortunately made frag grenades 10 times more powerful than they were on other maps due to the fact that the shipping containers doubled as grenade funnels, especially in Dom. But the vibes, they were there. Even if you hated playing on Wetwork, you have to admit there's nothing else in COD 4 that really played quite like it. Long, narrow, large enough for you to get your head on straight after respawning, even if you had to constantly be on your toes for random frag grenades. At number 12, love this one too, Octane and Ghosts. Raise your hand if you remember. This was one of the few fast-paced maps in Ghost on launch day. I liked it. Map was set in Las Vegas following a massive sandstorm. You could run around the streets, the busted up buildings, get to the top and drop on the other team, and compared to other Ghost maps, it was much quicker and much more close range. It was intimate, which made it relatively popular. Now, I know it's not very popular to say Ghost had good maps, but this one was good. I mean, it was. So if we've remade other Ghost maps, why not Octane? At number 11, Plaza in Black Ops 2. This was one of my favorite maps in Black Ops 2. There were so many good ones, and it's the map that most of us remember for having the cool little nightclub in the middle of the map where you could duck into for some annoying electronic music if you needed a break from the fighting. But there was interesting power positions on the map. Second story vantage points on each side of the map, the secret passages you could take from the stores to the middle of the map. Plaza was extremely tense. It was very dynamic, in addition to having some really cool visuals and vibes. It was never quite as popular as other Black Ops 2 maps. You had Hijacked and Raid and Standoff, but it was good. Maybe that's why it wasn't remade. At number 10, Countdown in COD 4. I really never understood the hate for this map. And yes, a lot of people really hated this map back in the COD 4 days, and that hate was renewed during the MWR era. I'll be honest, I don't get it. Is it a little crazy? Yes. Are there some annoying spawns? Yes, but it was unique, and if you play the map more methodically, you could have fun here. It was built for mid and long range engagements, and if you try to rush out in the open, of course you're going to get destroyed from 10 different directions, but if you hunkered down with an M16 or an M48-3, you could get some pretty awesome gameplays. There was some really unique vantage points and cover pieces. I mean, I don't get the hate for it, but whatever. At number 9, Roundhouse in World at War. Circular maps used to be more popular in multiplayer shooters, but they've fallen out of style over the last decade or so, but I wish they would bring it back. Roundhouse was one of the most exciting maps in World at War. It took place in a large facility, but it was also the smallest map in the game to have tanks, which made this very interesting because it really wasn't that big in the grand scheme of things. All the fighting circled around the main structure. There were some interesting patches of high ground as well, but it was hard to capture any of those. It was extremely strong if you could make it up the ladders in one piece, but good luck. It never returned after World at War. This is one that would go nuts and be a 24/7 playlist in a modern COD game. You don't need tanks. At number 8, Makin in World at War. You can decide day or night. It's one of the coolest maps in World at War, and while Treyarch technically did remake it as Makin Day in 2009, I'm not going to count that as a proper remake since it was literally just a weather variant in the same game. Makin was set in a tiny coastal basin. You could run from the elevated huts to the forest. You could even duck down in the water for cover, although you'd drown if you went too far out. Dark lighting made it great for stealthy players. Layout, it was unique because it wasn't a 3-lane map. Heck, there were no lanes on this map. That's hard to say. It was just an old school battlefield where you were fighting for control of various huts, and I absolutely love that. I don't know how modern COD players would feel about something like this, but it would be interesting. At number 7, Turbine in Black Ops 2. It was never one of the most popular maps from Black Ops 2, I get it. Certainly one of the most recognizable. It was in the trailer. Even if you weren't much of a Black Ops 2 player, you probably remember the long desert map with a giant downed airplane in the middle and the long bridge that overlooked it. People, they would go for their sniper shots. They would have tons of vertical vantage points on this map, and there was the absolute iconic trick shots off the top of the plane and the edge of the bridge. It's never been remade in another mainline COD game. And I really don't understand it because, I mean, it would probably serve a lot of good TikTok clips, and that's what COD's all about now, so maybe it'll come back. At number 6, Strike Zone and COD Ghost. By far the most popular map in Ghost in my opinion, yet it never returned. That's crazy to me. Featured a similar layout to the classic Dome from Modern Warfare 3, but it wasn't a proper remake or reimagining of it. Instead, it had subtle differences that made it play very differently, and it fit well into Ghost. Now, honestly, I'm not sure why the map hasn't been remade. For a while, I thought it was because Infinity Ward didn't want to remake any maps from Ghost because of the bad rep the game had, but that can't be true because other maps from Ghost have been remade. So why don't you remake the most popular? I mean, I thought if Infinity Ward was going to remake any map from this game, it would be this one, but not so far. Now we arrive at the top 5. Village in Modern Warfare 3 2011. This is one of the biggest maps in classic Modern Warfare 3, and yet people loved it. Now, usually the larger COD maps are seen as some of the weaker choices for 6v6, but Village, man, it was a fun time. It was a great layout. It was like 2 maps put into one. There were so many different choke points and routes between major locations. Even if you were fighting through the large African jungle, it never felt like you were too far away from the action, and since this map had very little overhead cover, things got nuts if somebody got a stealth bomber or an AC-130. If you were a demolition or drop zone player back then, you remember how fantastic this map was for those game modes. At number 4. Mission in Modern Warfare 3 2011. Most of you probably don't even remember this map, and in terms of layouts, this is probably one of the most unique in COD history. Mission was basically Gustav Cannon, but done properly. And that, I know that sounds stupid, but when you think about it, you understand. It was a pretty large map, long sight lines on the 2 side lanes, but the middle lane was elevated like crazy. A great power position that everyone was constantly trying to get to. But while Gustav Cannon was completely unbalanced due to the fact there were only 2 ways up and 2 ways down, Mission gave you more options for traversing the map. It also made those side lanes a lot more viable for flanking and getting the drop on people who may have been camping at the top of that hill. It's a top tier map for me. I mean, from the classic Modern Warfare trilogy, I think IW could get easy brownie points with the community if they remade it for Modern Warfare 4. People have been asking for this map to be remade for literally over a decade. At number 3. Fog in COD 4. It's one of the most iconic maps from the original trilogy, yet never saw it come back. Outside of MWR, that doesn't count. Now, interestingly, this map seems to be kind of controversial because on one hand, you have all the snipers who loved it. On the other hand, you have the rushers who hated it. Dark lighting, uneven terrain made it really easy to camp in certain areas, and those long sight lines made it difficult to rush the enemy team. But that was the point of the map. You either secure one of the vantage points, or you get creative to flank, or you die. I liked it. I thought it was one of the most iconic maps in the original Modern Warfare. It was a great way to incorporate a location from the campaign. Now, we might see this one get remade in the future, but with how slow-paced it was, I don't know. Modern COD games don't really like sniper-heavy maps, but we'll see. And who can forget? If you remember, why did you stream this? You know. At number 2. Yemen and Black Ops 2. Would you believe me if I said back in the day this was one of the most popular maps in Black Ops 2? I mean, it's always seen as a pretty solid map as far as larger 6v6 maps go, but when you think of the best Black Ops 2 maps, you probably think of a bunch of others before you think of Yemen. But if you go back to the forums from 2012 and 13, a lot of people saw Yemen as one of the best, which is crazy because nobody ever talks about it. It's never been remade. I mean, while almost every other fan favorite from Black Ops 2 has been remade, and we're probably getting them all back now, Yemen was one of the biggest maps in the game. Still had good pace, forced you to be smart about your positioning and your rotations. Objective modes here were awesome because every major spot on the map had at least one power position watching over it. It added great dynamics to the entire match. Would love to see this map come back, but I don't know. It's basically the exact opposite of the modern COD map design philosophy. It's not super fast paced, it's not straightforward, had a lot of power positions. COD maps just don't do that anymore. And at number 1 today, I'm going with Sea Town in Modern Warfare 3 2011, one of the most underrated maps in history. It was a banger of a map. It was set in Morocco, had you fighting through a coastal town. There were chickens running through various alleys and streets while using the second stories to your advantage, and there were chickens. The light color scheme made it super easy to spot enemy players, so you never had to worry about people camping in plain sight. And even though there was a lot of really powerful Overwatch spots, they weren't that powerful. You could basically, you could fix it. It was one of the best maps in the game, and it was almost always an instant vote when it popped up in the pregame lobby, and it never got remade, and yes, it had chickens. Come to think of it, there's a lot of bangers from Modern Warfare 3 on this list that never got remade, which is strange, since Dome has been remade 57 times. Why not the others? What's the deal? I mean, I love Dome, but why are almost all the other great Modern Warfare 3 maps just sitting in the COD graveyard? Let's fix that, guys. Let's fix that. Let me know 2 maps that deserve to be on the list, guys, and I'll see you soon.